Hello and welcome back to Joe's Math Tool. This is part 4 in our series on calculating the perimeter of our isosceles triangle. And in this video, we are working with expressions. So if you want to see how this is done, let's get started. So here we are calculating the measure of our unknown sides when our perimeter is equal to 24 millimeters. And remember that when calculating the perimeter, that means that we are adding up all three of our sides. So we will begin by writing that out first, making sure that we do not miss anything, and this is equal to 24. So now what we're going to do next is simplify our equation. And I'll begin by adding my k's. So k plus k will equal to 2k, and 2k plus k will equal to 3k. Now we're going to work through our numbers. So we have 4 minus 1 is equal to 3, and 3 minus 1 is equal to 2. So we have 3k plus 2 is equal to 24. So now our next step is we're going to work out our constants. So I'm going to leave my 3k on the left hand side, and I'm going to subtract that 2 from 24, which will leave us with 22. And now for our next step, what we're going to do is divide both sides of our equation by our constant, or rather our coefficient 3. So let's begin with our left hand side. We'll be dividing 3 into both the numerator and the denominator. Remember that for our fractions, we always divide by the coefficient, which is the number in front of our variable or the letter. So we'll be equal to k. And now we're going to be dividing again our 3 into both our numerator and our denominator, and 3 divides into itself once. And now we're going to do a little rough work and divide my 3 into 22. Remember that when you're dealing with measurements, you would want your answer to be as accurate as you can. So 3 can't divide into 2. 3 will divide into 22 7 times. 7 times 3 is 21. And 22 minus 21 will equal to 1. We're going to now input our decimal point, add a 0, bring down that 0, and continue dividing. So 3 will divide into 10. 3 times 3 times 3 is 9. And when 10 minus 9, we get 1. And as you can see, I can tell that my 3 is going to be a recurring number because I'm going to keep repeating this pattern. So I'm going to round my answer off to 7.3 millimeters, and that will be the measurement of my side K. So now let's calculate the measure of our unknown sides. So we said that our K is equal to 7.3. So now we're going to go through our steps for substitution, starting with my first side, 7.3 will be added to 4, which will equal to 11.3, and this is millimeters. Next, we'll work out our next sides, and these two sides are equal to the same amount, which means that we won't have to work the side out twice. Once will be enough, and remember that we're subtracting 1 here, which would equal to our 6.3 millimeters. So now I'm going to do my last step. You know, I like to do my check. I always prefer to do the check just to make sure that the answer is indeed adding up to what it should be. So we're saying that this is 11.3, this is 6.3, and this is 6.3. Now, when it comes to performing your check, usually with these decimal numbers, especially in cases where you have reoccurring decimal numbers. Now, we know that with this question, we had to round off the answer. So in those cases, most of the times, the answer doesn't always come out exactly to the amount that you added up to. Sometimes you may have to round the number off to the nearest whole number because, as you know, this isn't a case where we divided and we got an exact amount. In this case, we got an answer that we had to round off, or simply because one of the digits kept repeating. So that tells me that in my answer, when I add up this answer, I should get close to 24, but I will not get exactly 24. What may happen is I will more than likely have to round off my number in the tenth place. That's the first digit behind the decimal point, in order to make my whole number, the whole number part of my answer, equal to 24. So in most cases, that sometimes is usually what happens. So let's just add our answers and see. So we have 3 plus 3 is 6. 6 plus 3 is equal to 9. We have 6 plus 6 is 12. 12 plus 1 is equal to 13. We put our 3, carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. And as I said, we have 23.9. And if we were to round this to the nearest whole number, this will equal to 24. So when you're working out these type of questions where your answer doesn't come out exactly, or you didn't have a terminating decimal number where that number divided out completely and you got an exact answer, in cases like these where you have those repeating decimal numbers or those reoccurring decimal numbers, you would usually have an answer that would be similar to this. You would get an answer that would be close to the actual perimeter amount that you're given, and in rounding the answer off, that will bring you to the 24 that you actually should have had. Or it may be a case where you may have added up the numbers and you may have gotten like 24.1. So when it comes to those reoccurring numbers, the answers tend to come out, if not one short, sometimes it may be one over. So whenever you're working and you have a reoccurring number, just expect your answer. Don't think you did something wrong. Just expect your answer in most cases to come up similar to what I have here. Okay, so I hope this video was very helpful to you. I hope the steps were easy for you to follow. Remember that whenever you're working with expressions, you're calculating the perimeter and you get your measurement for your variable, always go back and check just to make sure the answer actually makes sense as it relates to your perimeter that you're given. Okay, so make sure you get some more practice in, and we will see you right here in the next video on Joe's Math Tools, where we make math easy.